The Trump takeover of the Republican National Committee is complete as Chair Ronna Romney McDaniel is out and is being replaced by two hand-picked successors, including Trump's own daughter-in-law, Lara Trump. This led a former RNC chair to say that this is all going to end in an implosion as dramatic as Trump's failed Atlantic City casino. Ouch. And if he's right, a decimated RNC means Trump has no chance to win the White House this year. So let's discuss the reality of a struggling RNC and its impending Trump takeover and what it means for November. I'm Dave Aronberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, aka the Florida lawman here on the MeidasTouch network. Here's the incoming co-chair of the RNC, Lara Trump, Eric Trump's wife, Trump's daughter-in-law, talking about how the priorities of the RNC are going to change under her new management.
Every single penny will go to the number one and the only job of the RNC. That is electing Donald J. Trump as president of the United States and saving this country.
Generally, do you think paying for President Trump's legal bills is something that is of interest to Republican voters?
Absolutely. That's why you've seen a GoFundMe get started. That's why people are furious right now when they see the attacks against him. They feel like it's an attack not just on Donald Trump, but on this country. You can't have a country and call it the United States of America that goes out of its way to target political opponents and try to bankrupt them and take down their companies, take down their families. So yeah, I think that is a big interest to people, absolutely.
This is different than ever before, as Michael Steele, a former chair of the RNC, says that the RNC is supposed to be about keeping the House majority for the Republicans and retaking the Senate and rebuilding state parties and raising money for Republican candidates and planning to get out the vote efforts, and a lot more. But we've seen how the Republican Party has become the party of Trump a while ago. I mean, remember during the last election, the Republican Party did not even have a platform. Their platform was, we're just going to do and support whatever Trump wants. So a party bereft of any principles or any measures or any issues, just falling behind Trump no matter what, is what has happened. But that's different than the actual RNC. The RNC, the Republican National Committee, still was at least somewhat independent of Donald Trump, even though the chair of the Republican National Committee, Ronna Romney McDaniel, was handpicked by Trump in 2016. She led his efforts in Michigan. He picked her because he thought she was loyal and successful, and like many Trump appointees, he soured on her and is now stepping down. And this is even though the Republican National Committee has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars already on Trump legal fees. And even though Ronna Romney McDaniel dropped the Romney in her name because Trump hates Mitt Romney, and so, you have to choose sides. And McDaniel chose Trump over her family. And even that wasn't good enough for Donald Trump. So she is out because she had those debates that did not include Trump. Trump didn't want to be part of the debates. He didn't like to see other candidates on the stage. He wanted them called off if he wasn't going to be part of it, but they went on as scheduled. He didn't like that people were blaming him for all the election losses that they've had. Remember, they've lost since Trump got elected in 2016. They've lost in 2018. They've lost in 2020. They've lost in 2022. And they've lost a lot of special elections, including the last one just recently in New York in George Santos' seat. So he decided that the best person to blame was the head of the RNC, and so McDaniel is out, being replaced by a guy named Michael Whatley. He's the GOP chair in North Carolina, and his own daughter-in-law, Lara Trump. Now, the party rules for the Republicans require a male and female co-chair. So they're co-chairing it. Pretty egalitarian for the Republican Party, huh? So the two of them are going to co-chair, but they're aligned in their mission to serve Donald Trump. In fact, Trump also endorsed his own campaign advisor, a guy named Chris LaCivita, to serve as COO. So the party is now fully the party of Trump, but it looks like the party fundraising woes will continue. Now, another reason why Ronna was dispatched was because the party faltered in fundraising, and perhaps it's because their donors, the big donors, are seeing their money go to Trump's legal fees. So the fact that the Co-chair of the party is now saying, yeah, we're going to entirely put all our money behind Trump to the detriment of anyone else who has a Republican Party label. Yeah, that's got to influence donors. And there are a lot of people who are clearly upset about this. Governor Brian Kemp, leading Republican in Georgia, the governor of Georgia, he said that the RNC cannot be relied upon to boost voter turnout in state elections.
I've had concerns about the RNC and their ability to get the vote out and to get the early vote out and to raise enough money to be able to help candidates on the ground in Georgia. We had to do a lot of that ourselves, and I'm not trying to, pick at anybody that's in the state party, the national party, but it's just the fact that, we could not rely on them to get the vote out. We've had to do that ourselves, and I think that's a concern.
Indeed, the state parties across the country are a mess. You've seen this in Arizona and other states where they're having all this backbiting and fundraising woes. And so the RNC and the state Republican parties are having real issues as we approach crunch time for 2024. And then there's the fundraising. Here's perhaps the biggest issue. The DNC, the Democratic National Committee, has nearly 3 times the amount of cash on hand over the RNC, and nearly 3 times as much fundraising in the final month of 2023. And last year, the RNC reported its worst fundraising year since 2013, and started this year with just over $8 million in cash on hand. And now I know there's some out there who are going to say, hey, where are you getting your statistics? Right? Some left-wing commie source. Well, here's where I got it. Yeah. Fox News. So you may not want to believe Michael Steele, who is a never-Trumper, former RNC chair. You may not want to believe Brian Kemp, who has been at war with Donald Trump since Donald Trump asked him to overturn the election in Georgia, and Brian Kemp wouldn't do it. So you may want to disregard that. But now you got Fox News itself saying that the Republican Party is in disarray. In fact, the article says that Democrats have started the election year off on a high note with a vast fundraising advantage over their Republican counterparts who are facing a shortage of cash and party disarray in crucial swing states. My friends, this is an underreported story. And I know a lot of people talk about the polls, and it gets a lot of us nervous. But remember, the polls are just a snapshot of today. And even if they're to be believed, it seems like every special election, Democrats continue to outperform since the Dobbs decision, the overturning of Roe versus Wade. The polls are not accurately reflecting, in my view, the energy, the enthusiasm out there, especially amongst women voters who are just tired of seeing old white men like the folks in Alabama on the Supreme Court try to take away their basic reproductive rights, even IVF. And so the polls are just a snapshot of today, even if they're accurate. What will happen by election day after the DNC's money advantage and state party advantages and GOTV advantage and mail-in voting advantage? Remember, Donald Trump is still bashing mail-in voting, saying don't do it, it's rife with fraud. Not true. That could only hurt. If you're going to depend on election day balloting to carry you through, it's going to be a repeat of 2020. And then there's the criminal cases that are sitting over his head. And even if most of them don't get tried, there will be at least one trial before the election, the one in New York. And I think the one in D.C. will also go to trial before the election. So you have all these issues and then all the other legal challenges mounting against Donald Trump, which will require the RNC to continue to pay out donor money, and not to communicating with voters, but to Trump's legal fees. And so when people tell you they know what's going to happen in November, ask them. If they're predicting a Trump win, are they accounting for any of these things? So thank you for watching this video. If you like it, please like it and subscribe. I'm Dave Aronberg, aka the Florida Lawman, here on the MeidasTouch Network, and I'll see you next time.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.